Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest-running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of a D1 athlete and a high school athlete pursuing a scholarship. With a wealth of experience to share, here's Recruit Me CEO Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 251 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. I hope you were able to celebrate with me last week as I honored the founder of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast and Recruit Me, John Fugler. I look back at a few of the podcasts, 1 through 203, that John did, and it was a great review and had many helpful recruiting tips. Go back and catch episode 250 and make sure to share the Athletic Scholarship Podcast with a family that may need help with recruiting, and subscribe on your favorite podcast app or visit recruit-me.com and listen on the podcast tab. Today's episode 251, is part 1 of 2, and it is an interview with Coach Rand Chappell. Coach Chappell is the head basketball coach for Johnson County Community College in Overland Park, Kansas. Overland Park is just outside of Kansas City. I've known Coach Chappell since I was in high school, and we will talk about how we knew each other in college. Coach Chappell has coached college basketball for over 30 years. He just finished his first year at Johnson County Community College as he was reunited with a friend and an ex-Missouri State teammate, Randy Stang. Randy is the athletic director of Johnson County. Coach Chappell will tell us about all the colleges and the level that he has coached. And we will dive into how those levels differ, how COVID is affecting recruits, how JUCO has advantages and opportunities you need to consider, and how the host of this podcast helped Coach Chappell to maybe the biggest win of his career. So let's get into part 1 of 2, an interview with Johnson County Community College head basketball coach Rand Chappell. Well, welcome, Coach Rand Chappell.
Good to be here.
Thanks for joining me. And first of all, we're just going to give our Recruit Me families a little background. So can you give us a rundown of your playing and coaching career, what you're doing now and what you've done in the past?
I grew up in Springfield and went to Glendale High School. Had a good career there. Went on to play at Missouri State for Coach Spoonhour. I actually played baseball and basketball.
Well, we're so old, it wasn't Missouri State back then.
No, it was Southwest Missouri State. You're right. And again, gives away my age a little bit, but those were good times and enjoyed it a lot. Finished it all up, and I guess I got my degree in finance, my master's in business administration, but kind of love sports too much to get away from it, and started getting into coaching. And I served 1 year as a grad assistant at Ole Miss. Came back with Coach Spoonhour at Missouri State to be a part of 2 of the better years in Missouri State history when went to the NCAA tournament the first year and beat Clemson and Horace Grant. And the second year went to the NCAA tournament out in Los Angeles and played against UNLV in the first round, 2 really good years. And from there, moved on to Southwest Baptist University, and things went well there. Was there 5 years with Jerry Kirksey, and we ended up making the NCAA Division II Elite 8 while I was there. Then I started my head coaching career. I was at Labette Community College in Parsons, Kansas for 2 years. I had a little bit of success and was able to get a 4-year job at Phillips University in Enid, Oklahoma, which was the NAIA school. That was really good. Was there for 3 years. We ended up being ranked number 1 in the nation. Had some really good times there, really good players and everything else. From there, I got an NCAA Division II job. I was at Henderson State University in Arkadelphia, Arkansas. Was there for 5 years. We went to the NCAA tournament all 5 years and won about 75% of our games or so. So was able to take that and went to the University of Central Arkansas. Was Division II school at the time. Went to an NCAA tournament there in the second year. Then we made our move to Division I, and I was there for 5 more years. Had some success, played Kentucky and Kansas and UConn and some of those people, and kind of got an education, I guess, in Division I basketball. Had some good, solid seasons, but ended up moving on from there. And after that, 1 year, went back and was the head coach at Garden City Community College for 1 year. I was in Eastern Illinois University, coaching under Jay Spoonhour as an assistant for 7 years. And then I'm back as a head coach now at Johnson County Community College in Overland Park, Kansas, This is my first year doing it this year. Had a good year, went to the national tournament. So excited to be back being a head coach and kind of back in my part of the country.
You kind of missed out on probably your greatest coaching was your Missouri State or Southwest Missouri JV team.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough when I guess I was probably 24 years old. Coach Spoonhour walked in one day and said, "Hey, we want to play some JV games. We want to get some of these guys some experience." And it was, I guess, the only job I never had to really interview for. I was kind of told to do it and given the keys to a van and said, "Here's 2 or 3 scholarship players. Why don't you take a couple of your managers with you and maybe pick up a walk-on on campus and see how you can do?" And fortunately, one of my managers was a solid point guard, which is the host of this show. So that he did well for me, and we had some good times and won a few games. I always ask people this kind of a trick thing as a head coach, or how have you done in your career? And I always tell them, well, I got 1 win in Allen Fieldhouse, and I got 1 win in Rupp Arena. So what kind of career do you think I've had? And you led me to that win in Allen Fieldhouse, so I appreciate it.
Well, it was a unique and fun opportunity. And I actually did a podcast about being a manager, how that is a possibility. If you can't play college sports, it was a great opportunity for me to get to play. And I got to practice with the team every day. And I'm the winningest basketball manager in Missouri State history.
Yeah, that's a pretty good record.
Yeah, I watched a lot of Sox and Jocks, so a lot of fun. But your career has been at a lot of different levels. You've had the opportunity to be at the JUCO level, the NAIA, the Division II, and the Division I. So that brings an interesting perspective to our Recruit Me families. Can you tell us a little bit of some of the differences that high school students and families what they should know about the different levels and how to get recruited in basketball at those levels?
Well, it's kind of interesting. Obviously, my wife would probably say I'm a person who doesn't change very much. So in a lot of ways, I think there is some real differences, but I always know as far as myself personally, I'm going to go out. I follow basketball. Obviously, in your own area, you follow it, and nationally, you follow it, and go to a lot of recruiting events and a lot of high school games during the year. Follow how the teams are doing, and I think your antenna is always up as you're looking for good players. Sometimes at junior college, because of your lack of budget, you're kind of waiting on someone to call and reference someone, or maybe you're reading the internet, you're doing those kind of things. Where maybe at the Division I level, if you hear about a good player in Charlotte, North Carolina, you get on a plane and you fly out and watch them. So there's some differences in maybe how people are observed. I think in any of them, my recruiting thing is a little bit different. There's get out and play hard, be seen some, impress the people. You never know who the person is that's going to recruit you or help get you recruited. So it's important for the kids just to be consistent and play hard and enjoy the game. Usually things start falling in place as the process moves along.
Rand, is there a different time that maybe student athletes get recruited at different levels? Is JUCO different than Division II or Division I?
I went to an event this weekend in Kansas City, and to me, I was mostly concerned about kids who are graduating this spring and are still looking for a place. And that being said, I saw a couple of younger guys and got their information from their coach and text them afterwards. "Hey, you look good this weekend. Want you to know you're on our radar. We're going to be following you." I think that's probably more the junior college route. If I see a player that's really good, that probably means he's a Division II or Division I player. Even though I would like to get him, it probably means he's going to have other options and some of those things. As you go further up the ladder to Division I, obviously elite players, when you see an elite player that's 14, 15, 16, and you know that they're going to eventually be someone that's going to be a productive player at your level, maybe you start the recruitment process a little bit more and start the connections a little bit more. I think when you're at the higher level, you probably start getting involved with the kids quite a bit earlier, or at least a little more persistent than maybe you would at the junior college level.
In your experience now and in past in the junior college level, do you have a good mix of incoming high school players and versus transfers from other 4-year schools?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. It's this is my first year doing it this year, and I would say it was pretty 50-50 what we brought in. And, obviously this year, we may be going to hit on this later, being a COVID year, it's really strange. I don't know if there's any true pattern. I think it's the hardest year for anyone to get a scholarship, whether they're, we went to the national tournament this year. We were ranked as high as number 2 in the nation. And, have some good players that both should be at the Division I and Division II levels. And there's a little bit of recruitment going on. A couple of them are getting things, but there's a couple of guys that are kind of disappointed, thinking that they may need to come back here another year just when things loosen up a little bit. And, obviously it's for high school seniors, it's kind of the same thing. It's one of the toughest years. It's obviously the toughest year in memory. And, I think it's a year where if you get a chance to go somewhere, you can't be overly picky. To be honest, this is really starting to ramble a little bit, but the way they've opened up the transfer rules and the way things are in the world today, it's really getting an opportunity and showing you can play and then adjusting from there.
That is one of the subjects we were going to talk about, was the COVID and the transfer portals. Go ahead and expand on what should high school players be doing this summer to kind of combat some of the COVID issues. And you mentioned some of the COVID issues would be players are staying an extra year at 4-year school. So that's kind of hurting the opportunity for JUCO players to move on. What are some of the other effects of the COVID?
When you're looking at the higher levels and really all levels, Division I hasn't been out watching a basketball game or any other sport, I don't believe, in over a year. They haven't been allowed to go out and watch. So that really hurts your evaluation some, as far as coaches knowing what, who they want and what they're trying to get. And obviously, if you're really on the radar as a freshman or sophomore, may help you. You're the guy still, but if you're I wouldn't even call it a late developer, maybe a normal developer, you're coming on strong in your junior year and you're getting ready to have a big senior year. These people haven't been seen quite as much. So that makes it difficult. And I really don't even know. I think the way the math is going to work for the next 4 years, you really have 5 classes jammed into 4 with everybody getting an extra year. I'm not really a math major, but I think simple math means that would be about 80% or 75%, as many people are going to be involved in each class. So, it's like I said, it's a tough time. My daughter was a college golfer, and I remember coaches telling, these are elite national events or at least regional events, talking about if you get an offer and you get offered some money, don't treat it like everybody's getting a full ride or everybody's going to, get that ultimate destination. You better, take it seriously and get yourself involved. There's one thing about even getting a partial scholarship. If you get it into a place and you play really well, usually the scholarship goes up. So, it's a lot of times it's all about opportunities.
You kind of talked about the JUCO a little bit. So when a JUCO player gets recruited from high school to JUCO, their recruitment's not done. So you guys are actually, the guys you have for like the 2 years, they're keeping an eye out trying to get into a 4-year, and they're going to continue to get recruited. So how does that work?
When we have people come in here, we're trying to get to national tournaments and win games and do things. And it works really well in that when you go to a junior college in a normal year, we're going to play a couple times in the fall, what I call a jamboree. And it's not a lot different than an AAU tournament. There's going to be 15 to 20 teams there, and a lot of them are going to have college prospects, and you're going to walk out there and there's maybe 80, 100, possible to be 200 or 300 college coaches at some of the biggest ones. And so, there's opportunities for you to go out there and play in front of college coaches and be seen. And as the year goes on, all of our videos available and that kind of thing. We really try to sell our guys on play good winning basketball and compete hard every day. And a lot of the other junior college coaches are like myself. They were either Division I or II players. They've coached on those staffs before. There's a variety, but everybody's connected to 4-year schools. And I think for the most part, when you come into a junior college and you play well and you're consistent and day in, day out, then that coach is going to have a strong voice in trying to get you into a 4-year school. A lot of doors open up. It's one of those things, take care of your general requirements academically and do a good job with those. Participate in a junior college program. And most of the time, the 4-year coach is going to feel like you're more prepared than recruiting the high school senior, just partly the 2 years of maturity, the better competition, those type things make you a valuable asset that they can recruit.
We've talked on our podcast to the Recruit Me families that a JUCO at a lot of different sports, not just basketball, but a lot of different sports is a good place to go because you get to play against men and women your age rather than playing against, people that are juniors and seniors. What are some other advantages of a JUCO? And can you kind of talk a little bit about the scholarship situation at a JUCO?
I guess there's 3 levels of junior college. The Division I junior college is basically can be a full scholarship. Wouldn't be any different, I don't guess, than going to Missouri State or UCLA or anywhere else. The Division II junior colleges cover all your tuition and fees and all those kind of things, but the room and board is on the family. And then Division III, maybe just non-scholarship. I'm not sure.
Yes, it is.
I think there's good opportunities at each one, and just you're going to get to go play. And I think a lot of people, you choose a 4-year school. I'll make it baseball instead of my sport, but if a 4-year school is bringing 35 or 40 guys in on the baseball team, when I used to play, only 9 guys got to play. You know what I mean? So that means you got 27 on the bench. A lot of times kids think that they want to go to that school, but they come home and it's like, well, how'd your freshman year go? Well, I got 7 at bats. It's kind of hard to be, it's kind of hard for a lot of kids to be excited about 7 at bats. Again, competing against your own level and that kind of thing. And there's a chance to get out there and swing and miss a couple times and see what you can do and become a better player. And I think, all that would hold true for basketball. A lot of times, even with us, we play a 30-game schedule. We're going to play 3 or 4 scrimmage events before the season starts. And in those, it may be, 3 scrimmages in a day, maybe a running clock. They may not be full games exactly, but there's a lot of opportunities to get on the floor, play, be seen, and improve yourself against good competition.
I am actually doing a podcast about kind of the psychological challenges of a college athlete. And that's one of them is you've probably in high school played about every minute in high school. And then you get into college, whether it's junior college or a 4-year. And are you ready to sit the bench? Are you ready to play 2 or 3 minutes? And how do you handle that psychologically? So that's good to hear it from a coach that sees it every day. In your case, how many players do you usually have on your team, Coach Chappell?
Well, we have 15 scholarships, so it's probably going to be 15 right in that neighborhood. Might have, if somebody's begging us at the end, might have 1 extra walk on or something like that. But I think it's a little bit what you said, even in recruiting this year, and this, we haven't really quite hit on this, but just talking about attitudes of people and the way they carry themselves and how they handle different situations. A lot of that, really plays in to whether you want somebody to be a team member for you, because I think at the end of the day, we're recruiting team members as much as we are straight talent. If you bring in 15 super talented people and they all have big egos and they all want a lot of shots and they all want a lot of minutes, that probably isn't going to add up to a really good team. Saying, how's this kid going to react when he's the 8th or 9th man? And if he plays 12 minutes a game, is he going to be hardworking, doing everything he can to help us win? Or is he going to kind of be pouty and upset? And to be honest, parents upset and everybody else if he only plays 12 minutes a game. And if, you got to kind of answer that for yourself as a coach. And I think it does affect who you recruit some.
So you're saying there's only one basketball and not all 5 guys can shoot the basketball in a possession.
Yeah, I think that's pretty true.
Join me next week for part 2 of this interview with Coach Rand Chappell. Coach Chappell will discuss ways to get on a coach's radar, how to get on the no list of a coach, how he views high school games, walk-on opportunities, and academics. These 2 episodes give you great insight into junior college basketball and recruiting at all other levels. Come back next week to learn more on the Athletic Scholarship Podcast.